and welcome to the Pitcher or the Hitter, the podcast by the M-SABR Dynasty League for the M-SABR Dynasty League. I'm Cam Kane.
I'm Sahil Shah.
And we got a really great episode for you today. We're going to start out by talking about some general league news and then dive into last week's thrilling semifinals matchups. And then talk a little bit about some of the keys to the last 3 days of the finals, and then maybe dive into the award voting as well. But first of all, let's just kind of talk a little bit about what this show is going to be, Sahil.
Yeah, so as Cam mentioned in the intro, this is by the M-SABR Dynasty League for the M-SABR Dynasty League. We want to provide content about a lot of different league matters, including the big trades, big ad drops, transactions, league matchups, you name it. We want to discuss it. We'd love to have a lot of you come on to guest star to talk about, different topics, whether it's about your teams or something else that's going on in the league or in general that, really interests you and you want us all to hear about. We're also going to cover all of the big events, all of the winter meetings, fall meetings, spring meetings, the draft, all of the big matchups, anything that's really big going on in the league. We're going to cover it. And I think that's about it. Is there anything you wanted to mention, Cam?
Yeah, I just think that it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got some games planned. I know you'd wanted people to come on and try and name every player in big trades.
Yes.
I've also got some mock drafts planned, including fake mock drafts from earlier, even before we were doing the league, and we're open to suggestions. This is really going to be a great time, and I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we do.
Absolutely, I couldn't have said it better.
All right, so it's been an exciting week with the league finals going on, but let's bury the lead a tiny bit and talk about other news going on in the league. Is there anything specific you want to talk about?
Yeah, so one thing I thought was particularly interesting was just how often Trevor May has been moved this season. I know you had a little bit of an interest in him this season as you traded.
Just a little bit.
Yep, just a 2021 first-round pick for Trevor May and a 2022 first-round pick with Clayton and Jake. So I wanted to get your thoughts about him moving around.
Well, first of all, I was trying to trade out of the first round anyway. I want nothing to do with this year's first round, and I still don't, as much as tempting as it is. But yeah, what was it? EBO just signed him, hopefully to get a hold today against you.
Yep, that's right. Yep, I just checked. He is in their lineup.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I thought he would be a good source of holds for me. I was in desperate need of holds, and he got me quite a few until he totally collapsed near the end of the year. I'm surprised he's still being picked up by teams. Who's the closer in Minnesota? Is it someone stable?
It's mostly Taylor Rogers, but I know Sergio Romo has gotten some saves. The Twins have one of the more interesting kind of bullpen arrangements. It seems like they have 6 guys, so they kind of rotate in and out of like holds opportunities and saves opportunities, but which makes it a little harder to predict. But Trevor May has definitely struggled a bit over the course of the season. Maybe the numbers could be better, but from a fantasy perspective, definitely he's getting a lot of holds, and that's something that is really valuable and important. Especially for a team who relies so much on their relief pitchers like EBO does.
Yeah, I guess the Blake Parker experiment in Minnesota's over. EBO, they completely punted wins and quality starts and strikeouts this week, right? They're just trying to get as much from their relievers as possible. I guess Trevor May is as good a guy as any.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. They're really going all in on these relievers, and I know we'll get in a little more on that matchup later on in the podcast. But they definitely are going all in on those relievers, and it's really interesting to see this strategy. Definitely not one I was expecting at the beginning of the season with Scherzer, Sale, Strasburg, Verlander, Maeda, all those guys in their rotation. But definitely interesting to see this play out. And I know another interesting tidbit that just came out was Gavin Lux was just called up by Alex and Daniel, and looks like he is going to be a fixture on their major league roster at least for next year and hopefully for the years to come.
Yeah, that was yeah. If you want to put a timestamp on when we're recording, just look back at when Gavin Lux was called up, Friday afternoon. But yeah, I was in the back of my mind. I was hoping they haven't been active a ton this year. Maybe they won't notice, and Gavin Lux will be on waivers. Sadly, that's not the case. But he's gonna be really great for their team. And if they still had Jesus Luzardo, those two could be a dynamic duo.
Now, Jesus Luzardo is now with EBO.
Yeah, they would have been. I definitely tried very hard to get both of those guys last summer, and yeah, their team could be interesting. They'll be picking second in this year's draft, I believe. If they get Austin Martin and Gavin Lux, could be the best middle infield in the league.
It definitely could. It's really exciting to see, how some of these young players are going to develop. And I really think Gavin Lux is going to be a fixture, not only in that Dodger lineup, but, for Alex and Daniel's lineup. And, I expect him to be a pretty solid fantasy option, as soon as next year. Definitely has the upside of a top, 3 second baseman, but I could easily see him being a top 10 to 12-ish second baseman at least next year.
So yeah, moving on to the semifinals matchups. Last week it was an exciting week. I don't need to tell you guys.
Oh, absolutely. Arguably, I think the most stressful and most intense week of fantasy playoffs that I've ever been in. I know it was only a week-long matchup, but it definitely felt like a year. And I'm excited that I came out of it on the other side and getting a chance to compete in the finals. But Cam, I know you and I had quite the matchup, and, I wanted to get your thoughts on how you felt about it and, how you felt about the season overall.
Well, yeah, it was the less close in terms of points of the two matchups, but in terms of categories, it was as tight as it could have possibly been. And I'm definitely a little disappointed, but happy with the fight my team put up. If you told me before the season I'd lose in the semis to you, I think that would be a successful season, and I think I still feel that way.
Absolutely. I know from my perspective, the stakes were a little higher. I feel like I have a team that is really trying to win now, and kind of given how the regular season went, I was a definite favorite, to win a championship. So I really felt the pressure ratcheted up, but I was happy with how my guys performed, especially on Sunday. I mean, just getting the 4 quality starts. I know Barrios,
God, yeah.
coming in clutch on Sunday night, and your Urquidy coming in clutch he's been really great since he's come back from the injury. I'm really happy to see how he's developed. Carrasco pitched a gem, 7 innings, 1 hit. Very nice to see him bounce back after his struggles last year with cancer. Jack Flaherty, a nice showing after he gave up, I believe, 8 or 9 earned runs earlier in the week that really tanked my ERA. So really great to see all those guys really come in clutch and somehow give me the lead, not only in quality starts, but in WHIP, which was instrumental in the victory. I mean, even to OBP, I feel like every day I looked at the OBP before the game started, and there would be like a .001 or .002 differentiator in OBP. And I mean, literally, the difference was less than .001. I mean, I had one more at bat, that ended in an out this week, I would have lost you in OBP. I thought that was crazy. And then even like RBIs, I only won by 1. I know I sat a couple guys, Eddie Rosario and Chris Taylor during the week that combined for 5 RBIs. And I was really thought that might have been the difference. And I'm glad that those poor decisions did not come back to hurt me. But even then, I was actually looking through the matchup, and 2 things that stood out to me. There's one day where I had Nelson Cruz in the lineup, and he got scratched, and because of that, I couldn't put Castellanos in. And Castellanos, I think, went 1 for 4 that day, which would have given me a 250 OBP from him, which would have brought my OBP lower 10 years, and I would have lost OBP because of that. And then another situation that week was when I had Garrett Richards, and this was before I realized they moved him from the rotation to the bullpen because of all the off days that they had. And he gave up an earned run and a couple hits or a walk and a hit in the inning to have a 2 whip for that inning. Had I had him in my lineup, I would have lost to you in whip, presumably. And, I think this just speaks to how close. I mean, we're talking about just minor decisions here that really flip those categories. And man, I mean, I don't think I've ever played a better matchup in this league. So, I mean, congratulations to you on a great season and a really great matchup. And, I'm really scared to see what your team's going to do moving forward, but damn, it was a close matchup. Like, the score does not totally reflect that. This was not an 8-4 blowout victory. This was, I mean, as close to a tie as you're going to get.
That's absolutely right. First of all, you needed four quality starts from your 4 starters on Sunday, and you got every single one of them. That's seriously got to be maybe the most remarkable thing that's happened in league history. And you needed me not to get the Darvish quality start, and he pulled a Freeland and blew it in the 7th inning. I want to hear what your thoughts were when that was happening, because I was not watching it live.
Yeah, that was huge because that not only flipped quality starts, but that also flipped whip. I mean, I saw the pitch count was kind of low, and I was like, maybe he comes out for the 7th, but I wasn't exactly sure that he would. And I mean, just to see him kind of just blow that, I mean, that might have been the happiest I was all week. I mean, that was just, pure, just like the fantasy gods were shining on me. And it was really important because it gave me that buffer, because I know that OBP and RBIs easily could have, flipped still, and had, I think, at least one of those flipped. Maybe would have needed both of them, but that could have easily resulted in you getting the victory. So to kind of have a little bit of that buffer definitely made me feel a little better. But man, I mean, that still came down right towards the end. And I mean, especially with how well Darvish has pitched this year, and he's arguably been your best pitcher. And I know he had a great first start for you this week, or last week. So man, that's rough to see, but I'm really glad it happened.
It was pretty painful. I scheduled a date during the game so that I wouldn't be checking constantly and stressing about it. And I checked my phone at some point, and I saw messages from you just yelling "woo," and I knew it wasn't going well for me. But yeah, if we look just a specific lineup decision, if I had that Sunday night, Yadier Molina was listed as day-to-day. I decided not to put him in the lineup, and he hit a 2-run homer, which would have flipped RBIs. It would have flipped on base percentage, and it would have put me 1 away in runs. It still would have been 6-6, but it just would have made the matchup even closer.
Well, I wonder if the combination of that and then potentially benching Darvish, I think, would have given you the victory. That being said, I don't think you would have had a reason to have benched Darvish, but I mean, I mean, you're right. That's just so close. Just like some of these just small decisions that maybe you don't really think about on a normal week-to-week basis in a long head-to-head season. I mean, it's just amazing just how much of a difference, that these decisions can make. So it's crazy.
It really could have. And a lot of my reliever streaming didn't go super great this week.
Yeah.
I had Yimi Garcia I picked up hoping to get a hold. He did not. Wander Suero, same deal, did not come in. And Harleen Garcia, same thing. I picked him up. He already hadn't pitched in 3 days, and he went 8 days without pitching.
Yeah, insane. One thing I wanted to ask you before we transition over to talking about the other semis matchup was I know that you only finished the week with 10 starts and you had 2 more adds. So you potentially could have added a couple more starters on the last day to potentially win strikeouts. Although I don't think you would have won strikeouts the way things played out. But potentially to get that win in quality starts, I just kind of wanted to get your thought process behind that decision.
Yeah, it was definitely not really something I would have considered. Just seeing as I was up by 3 quality starts going into the day, and I had Darvish going. So I figured strikeouts were probably gone anyway, and quality starts were probably mine anyway. But
Yeah.
I know I looked up to see hypothetically who I would have picked for a quality starter, and
I believe it was Josh Lindbaum.
yeah, Josh Lindblom for Toronto. And
Or
had I put him in the
Milwaukee.
lineup, he would have had 5 extra strikeouts, which wouldn't have made a difference. And he might have, I believe, he would have flipped whip back in my direction, but he wouldn't have had the quality start. So in the end, I don't think it would have made any sort of difference.
Yeah, no, even if you flipped a whip, it still would have been 7-5 me, and then because I held the tiebreaker, you still would have had to flip one category and then either flip a second category or tie another category. So just wasn't in the cards. But again, congratulations on a great matchup and a great season, and I'm really interested to see where your team ends up next year. I think there's a lot of great young pieces, and I can't wait to really dive in more on your team when we do the off-season previews for each team.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a successful season, even if at times it didn't feel like it. And yeah, my team is really young. Alec Bohm is going to be a year older next year. Vlad had a solid year. He's going to be a year older. Juan Soto, Nick Senzel, and hopefully Adley and Nolan Gorman will be up, I think. And my pitching has been phenomenal. So I think if I'm not in the top 3 next year, it'll be a bit of a disappointment.
I think so too. I think the expectations are definitely rightfully set high over there on your team. And I mean, I'm really excited to see what these young guys do. It's going to be the start of a real dynasty over there. But I think we should take some time to speak about the other semis matchup, which also was incredibly close and came down to the last game. I thought that, Ruthvik's team they dominated in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, his offense was insane, just like off the charts, Jose Abreu just had a fantastic week, and him getting Acuna back, and he's been contributing in all 5 categories, and the pitching with Bieber, DeGrom, Lamet, Gallen, everyone has just been really good for him. I just thought his team was really clicking, and I mean, I thought they had a great week. Just a couple of bad starts. DeGrom only going 2 innings because of the injury really hurt him, and I just think his relievers too not really getting the holds. I mean, he tied 1-1 in holds with EDO, and just the ERA just being a bit too high, a bit higher than we've expected to see from his team, just kind of ultimately created this disappointing finish for him. But I mean, I got to say, great season overall for Ruthvik, and I think the future is also bright over there at Deep Sea Devers.
Oh, I agree. I picked him 6th going into the season, and he was a top 4 team all year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing we were concerned about for the Devers going into this week was the hitting, and they really proved me wrong. Sal Perez, 524 on base, 3 homers, 3 doubles. Jose Abreu had a 517 on base percentage. Ronald Acuna, of course, that's to be expected. But really, Ruthvik's bats did not let him down.
No, his bats didn't let him down. I wouldn't even say the pitching really let him down, other than the relievers just not getting the saves or the holds. I just think EBO just ever so slightly outplayed him. And
Jacob DeGrom let him down.
DeGrom did let him down, and I wonder how much of an effect DeGrom maybe going 6-7 innings would have had on that ERA, and if maybe that would have led to each team kind of playing things differently later in the week. With ERA potentially being a little closer. I know that, for example, EBO had a couple relievers who blew up at the end of the week. Not like huge blow-ups, but minor blow-ups. And I wonder if ERA would have flipped in Ruthvik's favor had, DeGrom, been able to go a little farther that week. But that's the beauty of these 1 week fantasy baseball matchups, is anything can happen. And one small injury or one bad pitching performance can really, really have to alter the strategy. So, kudos to Ruthvik for sticking in. But, EBO ultimately just came out on top. And, I think EBO's strategy was particularly interesting too. I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, which strategy are you talking about?
More of the pitching strategy, with them largely punting, starting pitching into quality starts, and really going after the saves and the holds and ERA and WHIP.
Yeah, it's probably pretty similar to what they're doing this week against you, noticing that the team they're facing has just so many great starting pitchers. And yeah, I saw they only used 7 of their 12 starts, so they really figured they could get it done with guys out of the bullpen like Jeff Hartlieb. And that did not come true, but they still did get ERA, and they had 7 saves this week. That's remarkable.
Now, they have a lot of great saves, guys. I know Brad Hand and Mark Melanson, Ryan Presley. So that doesn't – and all in winning teams too. So it doesn't really surprise me they got that many saves. I know they've been dominating on saves.
And Craig Kimbrell's back as the closer spot, and he didn't even get any of those 7 saves.
Yeah, no. I mean, I know him and Jeffress have been kind of combining for the saves there, and they also have Jeffress. So I mean, like, they're literally like, you name a good team with a closer, EBO probably has them. Not surprised to see that many saves. I guess mildly surprised not to see as many holds. I thought maybe they would have finished with 2 or 3, but I feel like holds just so finicky. I will say it was definitely really interesting because I don't know, and I'd love to hear Zane's opinion on this in a future podcast, but I don't know if the strategy going into the week was it explicitly we're going to punt starting pitching and not go for any of these quality starts. Because I know the first time I really saw him bench a starter was like Friday, Saturday. I forget what day Jesus Luzardo started, and he threw to 6 shutout innings. And, I remember Ruthvik and I both sent in a chat, like, did EBO just forget to set their lineup? Like what happened here? And I didn't realize that was intentional. And it seems like they're really digging, their heels even deeper into that strategy this week. I know we're going to get to that here in a second, but really interesting to see that the strategy really played out well for them.
Yeah, WHIP and ERA were tight all week, so definitely does make sense benching Luzardo, even if it didn't really work out. So, Sahil, can you guess who got EBO's only hold this week?
Only hold.
Their one and only.
Their one and only. I know they picked up Tommy Hunter, but I think Tommy Hunter got a save.
He did get a save.
I did remember that. I thought that was particularly interesting because I know he's mostly been getting saves for them.
Yeah, and since I got a save from Neris this week also.
Yeah, I really thought Workman really got screwed over by Workman, but was it Blake Trinan?
It was Blake Trinan. He had a 16.20 ERA and their only hold.
Yeah, because he gave up the 3 earned runs on Sunday. And I thought that might be it for EBO with the ERA, but I mean, to their credit, they held on in that category. So wow,
it would have been 6-6 without him.
Yeah, damn. Well,
other than that, the only category I see that could have possibly flipped in Ruthvik's favor was RBIs. Everything else was mostly settled. Do you see anything perhaps Ruthvik could have done differently to flip RBIs? He only needed 2, and it would have been 6-5-1 in his favor.
Trying to look back here to see if he had any RBIs on his bench. Ruthvik, contrary to your strategy, it doesn't seem like he had a lot of hitters on his bench. He had Adam Hasley on his bench on Wednesday, and he had an RBI. But I'm not sure he would have benched any of the guys he started ahead of him to put Hasley in the lineup. I know Hasley's kind of been like his last bat in the lineup. Actually, Hasley on Tuesday had 2 RBIs as well on his bench. So I guess the moral of the story here is start Adam Hasley.
Yeah, over Willie Calhoun at least.
Yeah, well, Willie Calhoun. I know Ruth Vick disagrees with my take here, but I am not. I think Willie Calhoun is an okay player, but he's not going to be anything that special. Not that I think Hasley is necessarily anything super special either, but I mean, damn, just getting. If he would have started Hasley on Tuesday to 2 RBI day, he flips RBIs and it's a 6-5-1 matchup and he wins.
Exactly. Yeah, Calhoun only went 3 for 15. That lowered his on base and just kind of he did drive in 2 runs, but none on Wednesday.
No, not on Wednesday. I think this just goes to show too just how close both of these semis matchups were. Um, and I mean, it's just it was just an insane week. And I feel like it took a year off my life just sitting there and tracking it every night. And I hope that our future playoff matchups can be this close. I'm excited to see what the future seasons are going to hold.
I agree. And what do you think the future looks like for Ruthvik now that he's been eliminated this year?
I think I think his rotation is arguably the best in the league. I think you can make that argument. I don't know if it maybe has the depth that my rotation has, but I think one of the questions I have for his rotation is guys like Savali, Lamet, and even to a lesser extent, Zach Gallen are not exactly the most proven guys. Lamet was coming off an injury and had a great 10 to 12 starts this year. Savali was decent last year and really came on this year and, had a solid year. It wasn't anything like amazing, but definitely a solid mid to back rotation starter. Over a full 162 game season, can these guys keep it up? I know Bieber and DeGrom will, but I'm not totally sold on the rest of the rotation keeping it up. Kim on the Cardinals is another guy. I'm not sure, especially as the league catches up to him, if he's going to continue this dominance. So I think while Ruthvik's rotation looks very good, I think that's something he has to keep in mind going forward for next year. And I also think that lineup, while he did make some, in-season improvements, getting Ian Happ was a huge coup, getting Didi Gregorius was nice, and Austin Olo was a great pickup this year. I still think he needs a couple more bats for that offense to consistently be, one of the top offenses in the league. So I'll be excited to see what he does this offseason. I know he has a couple prospects, which he could use as trade bait if he really wants to go all in on that route. But it'll be fun to see. I think he is one of the better teams, and I definitely think he'll be in a competition to be one of those top 3-4 teams next year.
I agree. He's got definitely his top couple pitchers are great, and the rest little iffy. Even if they have been great this year, I think Zach Gallen was a great addition for him.
Yeah.
And in the lineup, I think having the one bench bat and starting Willie Calhoun every day is going to hurt him in the future. But yeah, he's got a long off season to add guys, and I trust he'll be able to make the right moves.
Absolutely. No, it'll be interesting to see what moves he makes in the offseason. And I expect him to be relatively active as he has been over the past year with the trade market, really building this team, inheriting it after the first year where I think they finished in second to last, and now he's built into a team that made the playoffs last year and then made it to the semifinals this year. So kudos to Ruthvik and Nick for really building that team up. But do we want to transition to talking about the finals matchup for a little bit?
Yeah, let's spend a couple minutes on this. We'll do a full recap next week. The first thing I want to talk about is how tight it's been. Once EBO gets their innings minimum, they will have a 6-5-1 lead. You worried?
I'm very worried. Their strategy is one that's particularly tricky because that they're probably going to win ERA, WHIP, and saves. Holds, I thought they were for sure going to win, although it was interesting yesterday to see Gallegos come in for the hold. He's mostly been serving as the closer for the Cardinals this year. I was hoping Gant would come in as well for the hold, but he hasn't. I picked up Tommy Hunter today to see if he could get a hold for a Phillies team that I know is desperately trying to clinch a playoff spot. So hopefully he could provide me with some help there. And then offensively, it's been pretty close as well. I'd say that the categories which are closest offensively are currently leaning in his favor, which I think is good for me because it makes it a little easier to flip. That being said, I mean, they have some insane bats. Machado, Tatis, Turner, Mookie, Yastrzemski's back today, Fletcher. He's got Kevin Pillar for 2 games. He's been hot lately. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see, how this plays out down the road with the bats. The beauty of having the tiebreaker, because the seeding means that I just need to win 6 categories. I think I'm going to win Ks and quality starts. And if I can hold on to the even runs, homers, and RBIs, I just need to flip one more category. So hopefully either doubles, OBP, or holds, I can flip in my favor. But one interesting development that I just saw, and this wasn't this way when I checked it this morning, is EVO has benched Max Scherzer. So it looks like they're not going to reach their innings limit today because they chose to leave Scherzer on the bench. Scherzer was supposed to go up, or he is going up against the Mets. They're playing that game in a little less than an hour. Curious to get your thoughts on this decision, Cam.
Now that's surprising, definitely. I feel they did start Kenta Maeda earlier in the week. I figured Scherzer would be the exception to this rule, but apparently not. Even with their healthy, they have a 0.438 whip this week. That is absurd.
It is.
But yeah, I think they're at 16 innings now. They need 4, I believe, to hit their minimum. Is that correct?
I think that's correct. Yeah, it's a 20-inning limit.
So I feel, I don't know. Scherzer gets 10 strikeouts tonight. Suddenly, K's are close. But they've got they're so far ahead in ERA and WHIP. I think they've got 3 days to get 4 innings out of their relievers. I don't think that should be a problem. But they're going all in on relievers, and they only have 1 hold. Is that worrisome for you?
Yeah, I think when you look at their team, a lot of their guys are primarily saves guys. I know they've made a couple additions to get holds guys. I know Jesse Hahn, although he just pitched yesterday an inning and a third. I got incredibly lucky that they brought him in a third of an inning before the Royals took the lead and would have given him a hold opportunity. But I know Trevor May has been struggling a bit. Chris Martin, they're going up against the Red Sox, so I could see him getting some holds potentially. Craig Kimbrell might sneak in a hold here. So it's going to be close there in the holds category. I like my holds guys. If Gallegos is getting holds now with Gant as well, and Hunter. And the thing I like about the guys I have is that all these teams are still jockeying for playoff seeds and even clinching playoff spots. So I feel like that the managers are going to have a real incentive to put in their best guys, in the situations where it counts. So that's going to be really interesting to see. And I think it's, I get that Maeda started against the Tigers this week, and we all know that offense is not great. So I guess it's smart to start Maeda against the Tigers. But, Scherzer, arguably been, top 2-3 pitcher in baseball over the past decade. To bench him in an important playoff matchup, that's really bold. And I'm curious to see how this plays out. But, to your point here about them just needing 4 innings to hit the limit, the nightmare scenario for them is, Scherzer or another starter they put out, blows up, and, goes like Flaherty did last week, 3 innings, 8 earned, and suddenly you're losing an ERA and you're losing in WHIP. And that's not really easy to come back against. That's an automatic, loss in those categories almost. So I think EVO's playing it safe. I think it's smart for them to play it safe. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. I think saves are locked up, but holds could go either way. So it's going to be a fun matchup to watch.
Yeah, I think especially if you've only got 16 innings, if one starter gets blown up, that's absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah.
One thing I think could be good for you with your Cardinals relievers is they've got 7 games to go, at least 5, possibly 7.
Yeah.
And that Gallegos is going to get a hold in one of those. John Gant is going to get a hold in one of those. You could have 5 or 6 holds by the end of the week, and that is insurmountable even for a team that's leaning heavily on relievers.
Oh, easily. And, I think that Andrew Miller, it seems like, is locked down to closer's job a bit. I think it was particularly telling yesterday that they brought Andrew Miller in for the ninth and Gallegos pitching the sixth. So, I'm confident that they're going to get some more holds opportunities. I feel like I have the right guys for holds on my roster. But let's just see if they deliver. Like I mentioned earlier, it's such a finicky category. It could go either way, in any given week. So, hopefully that ends in my favor. And actually, the Cardinals just started game one of their doubleheader as we speak right now. Jack Flaherty on the mound for me. So, maybe we'll see Gant or Gallegos come in. I guess by the time you all are listening to this podcast, you would have known the answer to that question. But definitely an exciting time just to track these matchups for us.
Yeah, and I think EBO knows that especially. That's why they did pick up Trevor May. He's got 3 holds in his last 5 appearances, and they see him as a guy who can hopefully break that tie.
Yeah, well, hopefully Barrios pitches a complete game shutout for me today, so we don't even have to think about the potential of Trevor May coming in for a hold. But definitely very, very interesting to see how this plays out. I'm very excited.
Or if the Twins lose, you don't have to worry about a hold either.
Exactly. Go Reds.
Go Reds.
No matter what happens, a crazy fantasy season with COVID, just a lot of issues. I mean, I would obviously be heartbroken to not win a finals matchup here, but, I feel like it's been a successful season no matter what. And I feel like my team is still built to compete. And I mean, I'll take every opportunity to improve them in the off season. And I'm sure EBO has a very similar sentiment. So, we'll see how this plays out here, but I mean, it's definitely going to go down to the wire here. I mean, I totally expect this to come down to the last game on Sunday. So.
100%. Yeah. So do you want to talk briefly before we go about the awards voting coming up?
Yes. So this year we will be doing awards voting. We will be voting on several categories. I will pull them up here. We will be doing the Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved Team, Most Surprising Trade, Most Lopsided Trade, Best Hitter Pickup, Best Pitcher Pickup. Now we'll be doing first team players at each of the positions. So 1 catcher, first base, second base, third base, shortstop, middle infielder, quarter infielder, 5 outfielders, a utility spot, 5 starting pitchers, 2 closers, and 2 setup men. So definitely a lot of great categories to vote on. Eric will be sending out a Google form sometime over the next week or so, I think, to kind of allow us to fill in our ballots. And we might have him on the show to, discuss a bit further what the voting is going to look like, et cetera. But one question I wanted to ask you, Cam, is, who do you think your MVP pick is going to be, just, without having done a deep look at the numbers?
I mean, it's hard not to pick Freddie Freeman. He's dominating in 4 of the 5 categories. Yeah. But if I want a homer pick, I got to pick Juan Soto. He's got a .480 on-base percentage, which is so much higher than anyone else in the league. And he's also stolen 5 bases, which has really made a huge difference in such a tight category in Roto.
Absolutely. I think Soto is going to be one of the top contenders. Obviously, the homer pick for me is Freddie Freeman. He's been fantastic this season, and you got to give him a lot of credit. He had the nasty case of COVID over the summer. I don't believe he took an at-bat in the relaunch spring training. I think he came right to the majors. I know it took him a couple of games to get adjusted, but he has been on a tear since then. And for a player who's been one of the, our generation's best and most consistent hitters, to never have won an MVP award, in the major leagues, it's just astonishing to me. And, I really think that this is his year to, capture not only the NL MVP, but the MVP in our league. But I wanted to throw one more name out here. We don't usually see pitchers win the MVP that often, but it's hard to ignore the season that Shane Bieber has had. Just the ridiculous ERA, The strikeouts. I mean, I know he's broken a couple strikeout records this year. And, in a shortened season, he's played in about 20% of the Indians' games. So, that's a pretty big number. And, I expect him to also be on a lot of teams' ballots. And I also expect him to be all over the Cy Young ballot. So it's going to be really fun to see, how everyone chooses to vote. And I know there's going to be a lot of different opinions. I know Cam and I would love to get someone on the show in a couple weeks here to discuss their ballot. So if you're interested, definitely reach out to Cam or I, and we'd love to get your thoughts on why you voted the way you did in each of the categories.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not really sure we're not clear yet on what the voting rules are and whether or not Shane Bieber will be eligible for MVP, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're really looking forward to getting started on the MVP voting once the season finishes.
Absolutely. I'm excited to vote for all of these categories too. I know in particular, one of the ones I'm really excited to vote for is most surprising trade and most lopsided trade. As someone who loves trades, as I feel like I have that reputation, I'm excited to see what people thought of, each of the trades made in this league. And I know we had some really big trades go down, especially before the trade deadline. I could be wrong, but I think the day before the trade deadline broke our record for the most trades in a single day. So there's going to be a lot of great trades to vote on, and I'll be really curious to see, what people's thoughts were on the trades.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's been a really great first episode. Do you have any parting thoughts, Sahil, before we say goodbye?
No parting thoughts, but Jack Flaherty just struck out Christian Yelich. So the games are underway, and I know I'll be tracking these the rest of the night. And I just wanted to congratulate everyone on a great, Dynasty baseball season. And even though we're locked in an intense matchup, best of luck to EVO. They've always been great competitors in every Dynasty league I've been in, and I'm really excited to be playing them this week. And, I am really excited that we'll be able to bring you this great content on this podcast over the upcoming months and years. So, I hope you all enjoy it, and feel free to reach out to Cam and I with your feedback. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I think that's everything I have. Anything else you want to say, Cam?
No, just have a great weekend, everyone, and best of luck to our two finalists.